Graham Nash wrote one of my absolute favorite songs. It's called Teach Your Children. And I love the music, but there's something about it I love even more. Shalom, my friends. Yes, Teach Your Children is a wonderful piece of music, but it also carries an extremely important message. One of the great responsibilities we have, maybe it is the greatest of all, is to teach our children. And what is one of the most important things to teach them? It's goodness. Not merely to teach them rules, not even merely to teach them manners, nor merely to teach them how to avoid getting into trouble, but to teach them goodness, to be kind, to be honest, patient, generous, to have self-control, to have reverence and compassion, and to have the habit of doing what is right, even when no one else is watching. Let me ask you a few questions. Were you born knowing how to be polite?
No.
Did you figure out good manners on your own?
No.
Did you only have to be told once and only once to say things like please and thank you?
No.
Of course not. We had to be taught. We had to be reminded. We had to practice. And the same is true of our children. Goodness is not automatic. Courtesy is not automatic. Gratitude, self-control, they're not automatic. These things must be taught. And not only taught, they have to be modeled, repeated, and practiced until they become part of who we are. And this kind of teaching cannot be done only through instruction. It has to be done by example. Children learn from what we say, but even more deeply, they learn from what we do, from what we practice. And I'd like to focus on that word, practice, for a moment, because it's very important. Anyone who's ever played a musical instrument knows that ability is not something you possess once and for all. You can be talented, you can have experience, maybe you have years of study behind you. But if you stop practicing, your playing will deteriorate. Your fingers will become less sure, your tone will lose its focus, your breath support weakens, your articulations become less clean. In short, things that once felt natural begin to feel effortful again. But the reverse is also true. When you do practice carefully and faithfully, something changes. The mechanics become smoother. The body remembers. The mind becomes more free, and the music becomes less forced. I'm thinking about this because in my own musical practice, I was preparing for a recent concert, and I experienced this directly. I had a routine. I practiced consistently. I worked on the fundamentals, not just the pieces themselves. I did the daily work, which is not necessarily glamorous, but it is what makes everything else possible. And as I prepared for this concert, my playing became more effortless. Not because the music required no effort, but because the effort had been trained. The work had become internalized. What had once required conscious strain began to flow naturally. And that's how goodness works. It's not only a feeling, it's not an ideal, it's not a slogan. It's a discipline. Goodness is something we have to practice. We practice telling the truth. We practice speaking with kindness. We practice apologizing when necessary. We practice restraining our anger, which can be very hard. We practice giving. We practice noticing the needs of other people. We practice choosing what is right when choosing what is wrong would be easier. And just as musical skill deteriorates without practice, moral skill also deteriorates without practice. If we don't practice goodness, we shouldn't be surprised when it doesn't come to us as easily in the moment we need it. There's also a frightening truth on the other side of this coin. The first time a person does something wrong or dishonest, like a student cheating on a test, it'll be hard to do.
No, them things is very, very wrong.
There may be an internal struggle. There might be shame or fear or a voice of conscience saying, don't do this. But if the person does it again, it becomes a little easier to do. And if a person keeps doing it, it becomes easier still. That's the danger of repeated wrongdoing. That too trains the soul. It dulls the conscience. It makes what once seemed unthinkable begin to seem first possible, and then normal, and then virtually automatic. But fortunately, the same is true in the other direction. The first time we do something good, especially when it costs us something, that might be a little hard. The first apology might be hard. The first act of forgiveness might be hard. The first time we choose patience instead of anger might be hard. The first time we put ourselves out by speaking up for someone else may be hard. But the more we practice goodness, the more natural it becomes. Not effortless in the sense that it costs nothing. Real goodness often does cost something. But with practice, it becomes more available to us. It becomes more immediate. It becomes very deeply a part of who we are. Judaism has always understood this. The Torah does not present goodness as a vague sentiment. It gives us commandments. It gives us practices. Honor your father and mother. Don't steal. Don't lie or bear false witness. Love your neighbor as yourself. Care for the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. Give tzedakah. Speak truth. Pursue justice. And do it with humility. These are not merely beliefs to admire. These are actions for us to perform. They are the ways we train our souls. And that is why teaching goodness to our children requires more than telling them, be good. We have to show them what goodness looks like, even if we're tired, even if we're irritated, even if we're disappointed. When we have power over someone else, when we could get away with doing less than what is right. Children need to see goodness modeled and practiced. They need to see adults say, I was wrong. They need to see adults keep promises, even when it's hard to do so. They need to see adults speak respectfully about people who are not in the room at the time. They need to see adults give and forgive, listen, and make the world a little bit better. They need to see that goodness is not something reserved for special occasions, but that it is a daily discipline, daily practice. And we shouldn't be discouraged by the fact that children need repetition. Of course they do, and so do we. No music teacher expects a student to master an instrument by being told once where to put your fingers. No conductor expects an ensemble to play beautifully without rehearsal. No serious musician says, I practiced years ago, so I'm finished, I'm done, I'm fine. If we understand this with music, if we understand it with athletics, if we understand it with every serious skill in life, we also have to understand it with regard to character. Goodness must be taught. It must be modeled. It must be practiced. Because the kind of people our children will become will not be formed by nice slogans. They will be formed by habits. And the way to build a habit is the repetition. So let us practice goodness in front of our children. Let us practice goodness with our children. Let us practice goodness when it's easy, so that we are stronger and able to do it even when it's hard. And let's remember, every act of goodness is not merely a good deed. It's a rehearsal for the next one. So follow Graham Nash's wonderful musical advice. The title of the song is Teach Your Children. The words are Teach Your Children Well. My friends, if you've had an experience that illustrates how practicing goodness is important, please share it in the comments box. I would love to read it, and I will respond to anyone who comments. I certainly hope you find this video worthy of serious consideration. And if you do, it's so appreciated if you'd give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And last, but certainly not least, if you're not already a subscriber, please do subscribe to the Rabbi Study. Log yourself into YouTube and then subscribe by clicking on my face right over here and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any videos. Or if you like, watch another video by clicking on its icon right over there. As ever, my friends, until next time, Shabbat Shalom.